Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today I felt really cool to do this. It's like an inspiration that just dropped into my head, and when that happens I feel like I should do it and do it as soon as possible. For anybody who's been following my channel closely recently and my community posts, you'll know that I'm filming this in December 2022. It's a timeless reading, but if you happen to be watching it this time, you'll know that I am doing some fairly big sort of choices and changes sort of in my lifestyle at the moment, and that's taking up quite a bit of time. So in general, I'm probably going to be posting less picker cards. Well, I will be posting less picker cards during sort of December, January, I think. But every once in a while, because it sort of comes and goes what I'm doing with this and decluttering and sorting out my life, I have a little bit of time, and I thought I've already filmed and scheduled at this point one a week at least through December, January, but I also thought whenever I get a chance to do a few extras, I'll do those. And so this opportunity aligned with the inspiration. And I suspect the inspiration came a bit from all the changes that I'm sort of contemplating at the moment, because when you do that, you've got lots of choices. And I think one of the things that's interesting is what choices you're conscious of and what choices you aren't conscious of, and whether they're connected or whether they're in very different areas of life. So I thought, why not do a reading about that? Why not do a reading around what is your most conscious choice, your biggest conscious choice, and also what is a big choice that's percolating under the surface for you and unconscious that would be worth bringing to the surface as well too. And are these two choices related, or are they in very different areas of your life? So that's what we're looking at today. What are your biggest choices and what is Spirit's guidance on them? And so to help you choose the pile, I mean, as always, I'll put down the numbers. There's 3 piles to choose from, and you're more than welcome to go to more than one, as always, because you could have choices across a couple or more than 2 choices, conscious or unconscious. But maybe to help, what I did was ask Spirit we're going to use the Stories Oracle with their questions to be both the conscious and unconscious. So the conscious one is here. So I asked Spirit to give me for each pile the conscious question. And these are very broad questions, but it might help you decide what one you resonate to. If not, use whatever way you use normally to choose. So for pile number 1, we have Ophiuchus. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the constellation correctly, but it says, what if just because you can doesn't mean you should? So this could be a pile for people who are contemplating something that is within their grasp, but they're trying to work out whether it fits their sort of life path, their morality, their ethics, the people that they care about, all of those sorts of things. So there could be something, and it could hit in any particular area of life, and we're going to get more information to see what that's all about. But if you resonate to that sort of question at the moment, this could be your pile. For pile number 2, the conscious choice says, are you the hunter or the hunted, for Ursa Major? So this is probably going to be if you are feeling, are you going after something? Is something coming after you? Are you in a love relationship? Are you the person who's going to be the initiator, or is someone going to initiate for you? All of those sort of things. What's going on there? Now, there is a little bit of a feeling of dread around that, but it doesn't have to be, I don't think, and it'll be interesting to see what else we get, because this could be also in something that's playful or fun, or could be around what you're trying to do with your career. So again, if you resonate to that, that could be your conscious choice. And then for pile 3, the conscious choice says, given the chance to gaze into the void, wouldn't you? So I feel this is like a spiritual group, I have to say, or a very innovative, contemplative group, or maybe even people who look at things sort of forensically and want the detail, and they're not sort of afraid of what they see. So there's a very interesting energy, I think, already around pile 3 for a choice that you're conscious of, and it might be, how deeply do you want to go into something? How much do you want to know the details, and so forth. So that may help you choose. As I say, there is going to be another Stories Oracle, which is the question that you're less conscious of or you're unconscious of. We're going to start looking at each in turn and whether they're related, and then we'll drill into it with more detail with tarot as always, and then look at what supports and guidance you have. So when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So here we have your first question that you are conscious of, and that may, in my articulation of it in the introduction, have drawn you to the reading, or you might have come for some other reason. So this we're going to look at first. What is the conscious choice? What part of your life? Where is it? What is it in relation to? And then we're going to look at a similar layout of cards at the moment that are not revealed. I don't know what these are. I didn't know what these were either. I just knew this one. But this is the unconscious choice. And when we look at that, we'll also try and get a sense, are they related? Is this an underlying engine for this choice, or does this choice have an impact on and bring this choice to the surface, or are they very unrelated? But as I said in the introduction, if you've come to this reading, your first question is, what if just because you can doesn't mean you should? So I think this is all about choices in where you put your energy. And I feel for you, it is about balance with library here, and fairness, I think, in a way. Library to me is always the sign of trying to be fair, trying to be balanced, and very socially aligned. And there's something about creativity here. It says connect with your creative spirit, create something new. But we also have weed out, get rid of things that are not wanted, make room for something new. So I feel as though there are two key elements of this question for you. One is, with the choices you're making, whether they're creative, romantic, career, friendship, whatever it might be, but I think there is a big thing on things that are new in any of those things. So a new relationship, a new career, a new job, a new creative project, a new friendship circle. The first thing for you in making this conscious choice is, what do you think is socially right with it? What do you think will be the fair and balanced thing? And that may be a bit of a challenge for you, I think, because it looks to me as though whatever this is, as I say, a new relationship, a new creative project, a new job, you have to, in a sense, weed out, get rid of certain things, not do certain things. So they may be things that you can do, things you can do really easily, but they may not be something that is going to take you forward, going to develop you, going to give you material outcomes, going to bring the love you want, whatever it might be. And I feel like you have this real sense of fairness and not wanting to leave anything behind. So it's either, if this is around relationships, whether it's love or friendship, it's like there are new opportunities coming in, very creatively inspiring opportunities, and you could, in a sense, have both, but it's not necessarily going to be balanced if you do that. And I think part of this choice about what you do, who you connect with, means that you are going to have to choose to let something go, even if it was valid before. So, and it may also be a thing of, well, if you can't do that without feeling bad, should you be going for the new thing? So a good example of that might be somebody's just offered you a promotion and you feel, oh, yes, I could do it and that would be fantastic, but you feel that there's something that was not fair about it. Like, I think there's an issue about fairness, treating others right, and if you are going to separate from something, that you do it with honour. So I feel like that in that situation, you could think, well, I could take that on, but I don't think that would be fair to others, or I think that I got it illegitimately, or I could do it, but I'm not really going to enjoy it, and I'm going to lose friendships that I would have wanted to have, and so forth. It could also just simply be that you are a very creative person, because with this energy, you really are, I think. And there's a lot of beauty and balance to what you do. It may be that you have to let go of certain creative energies to bring in something new. And so it's, again, you could keep doing what you were doing, but that doesn't let the new in. But whatever it is, the key is here. It's balance. It's either that it intellectually balances for you, because Libra is a air sign, so it's about what you believe, what you think, your philosophies and so forth, or it's socially balanced. So I think this is a question that either has a social impact in you making a choice and maybe a social cost, and it may still be the right thing to do, but you need to understand what all that is and make sure that it's not just because you can do it, it's because you should do it for your development, for other people, whatever it might be. Or it's about making choices about where to put your energy in a way that is balanced and in a sense ruthless if it needs to be, because there is a little bit of a ruthless energy there, but I don't think you by and large are a ruthless person, but sometimes one has to be a little bit. So it's like clearing something out to bring in the new potentially. So I think for you it's got a social impact. So your question is about that. How your choices, your creativity, what is new for you, what is the cost of that? So it's a conscious question for you at the moment. The unconscious question is, Virgo, What if you were sovereign unto yourself? Now that's very interesting. I think these are connected because this is all about the social impact of what you do, and this is about you making a material decision that is about you. So I think we're already seeing that there's an underlying unconscious question that is key to this. It's almost as though, and we'll see with the other cards, but I almost feel just saying that maybe some of you are in a situation where in fact it's not so much that you're questioning whether you should do something, but that others are bringing an influence to you. Like, you shouldn't do that, that's you're getting ahead of yourself. As I said, I almost felt like for some of you it might be an opportunity to move up the ladder in your career or something, and maybe the people you've been working with aren't dealing with that well. So there's a real question here about what does it mean to be sovereign to yourself that I think has a bearing on this, because social niceties are wonderful, but you also have something new to bring through. Let's see the area of life. This is unconsciously is Virgo. Isn't that interesting? Underneath, you actually keep your analysis of things underneath. I think that you're someone who actually really does see the dynamics that are going on socially and creatively, but I think that you feel, because this is coming up in the unconscious, that it's a little bit corrosive or it won't be harmonious. I think there's a really big thing for you, Pole 1, around letting your true energy coming in and focusing on what is sovereign to you and what you have seen in the world, even if it upsets the apple cart a bit. I think there's an energy there. But there's definitely something about this is a material choice. Whatever this is a material choice. And underneath, you've been planning and building to it. So you shouldn't feel that you shouldn't do something just because there's social pressure or whatever, or because you're leaving something behind to go to something new, because you've been building to this and you really do know what you're doing. And I think you need to back that energy more. So let's see what the other elements are. Water, subconscious, purification, flow, and breathe in, breathe out. Okay, all right. Yeah, so this makes sense. I do think these two things are connected. You're very caring. I mean, this is what this is telling me. What this is telling me overall is that your conscious question is all about the impact of your choices on others. You really don't put yourself first. And I think that sometimes that isn't right for you, but I think you don't. But I think you're hitting a point now, and unconsciously you already know what it means to do what is right for you. You already know the answer to this question. But there's a lot of emotional energy coming back. There's a lot of pushback coming back to you. It's either that somewhere along the line, family or friends or workmates or managers put into you the head that you can't leave something behind till it's finished. So you can't get onto the new till you finish the old. But in actual fact, you know that you can't do it all. That's one thing. Or you have had people tell you, and so it has an emotional impact that you need to kind of process through, analyze and ground, that if you do what you want, if you're sovereign, you're somehow disturbing the natural order of things. But you're not. I think the really key thing, and I think these two questions are very much related, is to know that you have reached a key point where you are meant to make the decision and you are meant to do what is right for you, not what is right for the social fabric. You're not the sort of person who's going to cause a revolution necessarily, unless that's what you want to do, but you're not going to do that. But you are meant to become creative and to become sovereign. And it's going to be a little bit tumultuous for you to do it because your natural instinct is to keep social harmony. But this is at a point where you really need to come into who you are. So let's have a look with tarot. So we're going to use tarot in a couple of ways. I'm going to ask in this one what the further advice is around what you know of this question, and then I'm going to use the second tarot for what is unconscious in it, and then I'm going to use the unconscious tarot for what is kind of really pushing this along, and then the what you know for what you do actually know with this. So I'm going to sort of flip it on each side just to get a little bit more information. So firstly, a little bit more about what you do know about this choice that's confronting you right now. The World, Seven of Pentacles, Ace of Cups. Okay. And what I'll do over here is I'm going to see what you do know about the unconscious choice. So let's look at that first. Queen of Pentacles. You know you have to be sovereign to yourself, okay? You know that. Six of Swords reversed. Justice reversed. Okay, all right. So, you know in this decision that you have come to a point of completion with certain things, whether or not other people agree, you know, and you've also worked out, because all this Virgo underneath the surface, you can trust your instincts on this. You do know where the return on investment is, and you know where your heart is and what the new energy is coming through. So I think that you're just in a situation where other people will perhaps suggest to you that it's not the right thing to close out on something, and there's just this feeling that there's a pressure to stay where you are, but you know that you can't. You know that in actual fact, the new stuff coming through you need to do. And it's not, you're being asked to think whether you should, but the reality is you know you should, because this is actually closer to your heart and it will have a real return on investment, whatever this is, creative, emotional, career. A lot of you, I think this is around career or around, you know, a business, your personal brand or something like that. But if it is around a relationship, then you know that something that maybe everybody, all your friends thought you should be with this one person, but you've met someone else. You know that really that relationship, the one that you're in, is closing out. There is something much more emotionally nourishing. So it just depends on what the social pressure is around you, but you know that you're actually right about this. You know underneath that you've done this analysis. And even on the unconscious level, you know you've done the analysis. I think what you haven't necessarily really connected is why you were doing it. And I think it's this question: what if you were sovereign unto yourself? I think it's more that you've just tried to work out what really has the growth potential, what really kind of seems right. You kind of put all this pressure on yourself about the should versus shouldn't, as opposed to the could or couldn't. But underneath, the thing that's generating this sense, the way you've looked at it, is that you are starting to realize that you need to make the decision that's sovereign to yourself. And I think you've started to pick up, with the Justice card reversed here, that there's something inherently unfair around the pressure that you're getting. As I say, whether that's from friends, colleagues, family, current lovers or whatever, there's something that isn't right. You've known it for a while, and you felt that it put you off course for a while, or that there was pressure that if you were moving towards, again, your sovereignty here with the Queen of Pentacles, your material sovereignty with Virgo, that you were getting pushed back. And so it feels actually like either a little bit of gaslighting around you or kind of moral blackmail, but you are meant to make the choice that is right for you. So let's, using another tarot, see what you don't know that's operating around this conscious question, and then a little bit more about, you know, what's underneath the second question as well. So what you don't know in relation to the conscious question at the moment. What's a little bit more unconscious in the conscious question? We have Mother reversed, okay. Knight of Swords. Wheel of Fortune, okay. And a little bit more that is unconscious here. So this is what you're conscious of in the unconscious space. But what goes even deeper around this unquestioned, you know, the unconscious question of your sovereignty? Three of Pentacles, Eight of Cups, Eight of Wands. Okay, all right. So for some of you, this question about what you should do is either been a kind of a belief structure that's been put into you since you were young, probably from a maternal figure or certainly from a nurturing figure, and it wasn't helpful to you. It may not have been meant to be unhelpful, but you might have been, for instance, in a family where your maternal figure, or at least a nurturing figure, always said, keep the peace, keep the peace, keep the peace. And that's been a kind of a underlying energy. So if you wanted to do something that would have actually upset the apple cart of those around you, it would have been frowned on. There's something there, and that energy stops you from completing things that are no longer right for you. But underneath this, there's a drumbeat operating. You know there's a great opportunity coming, and in fact you don't even know yet how great it is, but you know it, you can sense it, you can feel it, and you know it's following your heart. And underneath, unconsciously, you understand this is the way fortune is operating for you, and you are going to surprise people with the Knight of Swords there. The Knight of Swords to me sometimes is where you act completely differently to what everybody thinks. And I think you're going to get pushback because I think there's going to be something, as I say, new love, new job, whatever it is, where you're going to do something because you can do it, and you're going to get some pushback about should you be doing it, and you're actually going to say, yeah, I should be doing it because over here I've been held back for too long. And you know, unconsciously under this, you know it's had to do with compromises with friends and other people that you've collaborated with. You know that you need to walk away from the emotional blackmail. You know that you need to liberate yourself creatively. There is a big drumbeat for you. I feel like getting up and applauding, to be honest, Pile 1. I feel like you're ready to step into something, into your own thing, and you actually should be doing this. I just think that people are telling you you shouldn't. So I think there's a very big argument here from Spirit that, as I say, your conscious and unconscious choices are two layers of the same thing. And Spirit is saying the answer to what if just because you could doesn't mean you should. The answer is, well, actually, in this case, you should as well. But you've had to face that. You've had to face the fact that there's something in whatever element of life this is for you. And it's not telling me specifically because it's just about social responses, people around you and around you really analysing and understanding the thing. So there is a feeling like business with all the pentacles, but it could be relationships, could be creative projects, could be anything. But you're meant to move forward with this, absolutely. So I'm going to go back to the Conscious Tarot, and I'm just going to ask for 4 cards for overall advice from Spirit about balancing these choices, and then we're going to have a look at the sort of Spirit team that can help you and their perspective. So firstly, 4 pieces of overall conscious advice for you. Queen of Wands reversed, the Emperor reversed, Wheel of Fortune reversed, Page of Pentacles. Okay, I think this is pretty clear. Page of Pentacles here is really picking up all this Virgo energy. It is basically saying you need to understand that while you submerge your own creative instincts and how you want to self-actualize to those that want to control you in one way or another, you will not be able to access this fortune. You almost let it go. What you have to do is start to plan for how you will do something rather than how other people want it. And with both the Emperor reversed and the Mother reversed, I do think for many of you this is something you've learned in childhood. It's a pattern. And it's really lovely to be socially nuanced and to care, but there's something coming. It's meant to be your time. You need to just be determined about this. You need to be building almost your business case for this and sort of damn the consequences, really, I think. Okay, so let's see some Spirit Guide team members for you. So I want to get a couple of power animals because I think that works at both the conscious and unconscious level. Then we want to get an angel and then also a goddess energy around to be a spirit team to help you, I think, claim your sovereignty, because this is what this is all about. So firstly, we have Seahorse, equality. Yeah, equality. See, this is interesting. This is the social construct. This is the library. You are very much like that. I think one of the things that Spirit here wants you to know, and your power animals want you to know, is that you're not going to be unfair. If people are trying to hold you back and they're saying that you're being too selfish or whatever it is, or you're upsetting the world order or whatever it might be, that's manipulative because you will always be balanced. That's not the issue. The issue is that it's got out of balance. You've subjugated your own sense of self and your own fortune always to meet the group, always for the very utilitarian, the greater good for the greater number. But sometimes you have to look after your own thing. You will never become a despot. If you're looking at this and worrying, oh, I'm going to become the thing I despise, you're not. That's not who you are. Then we also have Bull, sacrifice. Yeah, like don't sacrifice yourself. Or if you have to let go of certain people and certain things that are holding you back, maybe you have to sacrifice that. That could be the weeding out. So for some of you, that might work. But I do think that it's asking you to think about here, quite literally, what have you sacrificed for what you thought was equality? And then what is true equality? True equality should allow you to be sovereign to yourself and to fully actualize yourself. So I think there's a very big thing here about don't be manipulated by this situation. And, it doesn't mean you have to be around horrible people, but they just might have got used to you always being the one who kept everything socially nice. Okay, so let's get you an angel energy as well. Archangel Azrael, death and rebirth. Yeah, this is all about new starting, ending of things that aren't working, then sort of bringing into being that which will. Absolutely. So this is, you do have to go through this process. You do have to go through the weeding out. You do have to stand up for what you want to do. But then there's a rebirth. Any relationship that lasts this thing is a great relationship. And if some don't, then, with their friendships or whatever, then you've learned something about them. Don't let that rule you. And then let's get you a goddess or divine feminine energy as well. Lady Sarah, divine union, new earth, holy grail, oneness. Okay, wow. So there's something very deeply spiritual about this. For some of you, you may have met the new love and you need it. It's different. It's the one. That could be the case. If you've met someone and it's very different to your social circle, or leaving somebody at the moment people wouldn't approve of or whatever, this is a really big sign with divine union. You've met the one. So I think there's a confirmation for anybody that it's about that sort of thing and you're worried about the fallout of that. New earth feels to me like death and rebirth. Like this is about you really, and with all that Virgo, establishing your sovereignty, your territory, what you want to do. Holy grail, following your light on the hill, your north node, and oneness, being at one with yourself. There's a real sense of liberation and a sense of reclamation almost in this. So I think, and as I say, I think that your power animals want you to know you're never going to sort of become something you don't want to be, but you've been a little bit too self-sacrificial in the fear that you were going to do that in some way. So that's very powerful. It's like, it's really saying whatever this is, you're meant to do. It's you're asking yourself whether you should, but the answer is yes, you should, I would say. So let's get you some astrology or numerology advice, and then we're going to just finish up with looking at what you can manifest in answering both of these questions. So firstly, just some astrology and numerology advice for you. Earth, yeah, it's earth. It's what do you ground? Like whatever this is. I think for many of you, it is something around business, making money. Could be family, making a decision about starting a family, committing, doing those sort of things. If everybody, friends just want you to stay footloose and fancy free. It just depends what this is all about, where you're getting the pressure from others around you. But this is with all the Virgo and with Lady Sarah with New Earth, there's something about this bringing in a totally new world for you. It's one that you're meant to have, but it is a totally new world. Sixth house. Okay, and the question is all about service to others and how you best do that. This is, again, if you want to actually answer that question, because you remain this like, how do I do this and live up to the sort of Libra ideals? I think what it is really saying is that when you really look into and analyze it, the best way that you can serve others is to be true to yourself. If you're just doing it to fit sort of social mores or what your friends want or whatever, then in fact, you're not doing the thing that you should. You're doing the thing that apparently looks like other people think you should. But if you really want to serve others, and there is a side of you that wants this, and a side of you that sometimes is self-sacrificial as a result, working out who you truly are, that's where you most manifest what you can do for others. Also with the sixth house and earth, it does say that for many of you this is around work. But I do say with Lady Sarah there with divine union, for some of you it might be around a relationship. And this is saying that there is something, I think, in this relationship that will actually be of service to others in some way, even if it's just your divine partner, if that's what's going on. And we've got South Node, North Node. Yeah, you're moving away from patterns that were not right for you, moving towards your North Star. I do think your North Node's important. I sort of look at the Holy Grail a bit like the North Node in your chart. So if you know what house and sign it is, it'll tell you something about where you're heading. I personally think, because I believe in reincarnation, that it shows not only where you're sort of heading and tilting towards in this life, and you should be for your soul's development, but it's also going to be something that you really manifest strongly in your next life. So I think this is saying that this is a preparation for much more than even just this life. That's why it's important to make these decisions and to be clear, to analyse what that all means, what that in a grounded level means for you. Okay, so pile one, just to complete, I'm just going to draw one card for what you can manifest if you answer this question to your satisfaction, and similarly for that question to your satisfaction. So for question number one, protection. Okay, I think this whole reading is meant as a protection for you, to be frank. I don't think most of you are with awful people, but I think you're with people who are used to you doing what they want you to do. And I think you've also maybe been brought up with sort of principles that are lovely on their face, but are too limiting for you. So by really answering this question for yourself in the affirmative about what your heart really wants to do with the Ace of Cups, you protect yourself from all that sort of energy. And then answering the unconscious one about coming into your sovereignty. Clarity, yeah. Then you really know, then you really understand. You make the right decision. Your analysis will be spot on. It will be very material. It will be very practical. It will still serve others, but it will be more in alignment with your life path. You have to claim your life path, pile one. That's what this is saying. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope it was helpful. I do think you've got a lovely energy, and I'm kind of feeling, as I said, like I want to applaud you for even asking these questions and really looking into it. I think everything is very positive once you start doing this. So I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video, subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So we have here the Stories Oracle question card that may have brought you to the reading if other reasons weren't the reasons that you came to Pile 2. So that represents your conscious question, and we have some cards to look at, a little bit more detail about the nature of this question. Then we also have over here a Stories Oracle card for the unconscious question, and similarly some more information about what's unconscious. So one of the first things after looking at this we're going to do is we're going to look at what the unconscious question is and work out whether they're related or whether they're quite different, because they could be either. But the conscious question that you've come to is, are you the hunter or the hunted? And as I said in the introduction, this could be around relationships, it could be around sort of career opportunities, it could be around creative opportunities, it could be around friendships, it could be around patterns in relationships that you have in general. It could be around your own sort of love of things like games and I mean that in a positive way, not like playing games in a negative way, but, competition, all that kind of thing, that kind of energy as well. I do think with these, it's you trying to work out whether you are doing the right thing, I would say, around work, vocation, and whether you're in the right place for that to connect with your soul. Because we have work which says something that takes an effort or employment. So it suggests to me that something, it could literally be about employment, or it's something that you're putting effort into. What are you putting effort into? And are you doing that because you're hunting something that you want, or are you doing it because you feel like you're hunted, and if you don't keep up, that you're somehow going to become prey to something? We also have roots, where you come from, what made you who you are. So looking at this, particularly with the soul, which I'll get to, for some of you, I think this is saying that this is a question about career or vocation or, being seen in the world or creativity, whatever it is, where you've almost been instilled in you a kind of workaholism, I think. Because it's like it's something that's been instilled in you. It's almost like maybe it might be that some of you don't feel that you are where you should be in your life, and you're going to work until you get there. And so you're hunting the prize, which is probably the most positive way of using this, but it also does make you need to question, what is it about where you come from that you want to sort of move away from, if that's the case. For others of you, it may be that, as I say, there was something instilled in you when you were young about what is it to aspire, and are you always going to be sort of someone who's on the fast track to something, you just put the work in, you do it? Or are you always going to feel that, you were born, like if you were not born in privilege, for instance, it would be perfectly reasonable for you to be going, where I came from, like, can I become the hunter rather than be the hunted through what I work, or will I not? There's a question here about whether you're in control and going after what you want, or whether you're almost trying to just keep ahead of people who are trying to overtake you. And we have the moon here as the soul. So I think this is all about, what is your soul trying to tell you? So I get this sense of like almost that you're on a treadmill of one form or another. Now, it may be a treadmill you've put yourself on because your soul is calling for you to hunt to something, but then the question may be, what is the foundation you have, and where would you best put your effort? But if it's not that, if you feel like you're on a treadmill of like, I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over, and I just feel like I'm just doing it just to keep up, just to pay the bills, just to do whatever, then I think that Spirit is saying that the question around all this is almost to make it neither. and to go back to your soul. What does your soul want? And what is your soul telling you about that? So it's got a very big tilt to the unconscious here. And how this reading is going to structure is we're going to look at this, and then we're going to look at what you consciously, a bit more about what you consciously know in this question, and also what's unconscious underneath it. And that'll be very important for you, because there is a driving force, an emotional driving force for this for you, that's either making you a workaholic or making you feel like either the hunter or the hunted. And we're also going to look over here at what is even deeper unconscious, and what do you consciously know about the unconscious question as well too. So we're going to kind of do a comparison, a kind of mirror comparison across them. So it will be interesting to see, because this feels almost like it should have been sitting over there in the unconscious. So there's a very big connection. This is an unconscious. I think you're aware, you're conscious, there's an unconscious pattern going on, if that makes sense. So let's have a look at the unconscious question. So we have Aries. Okay. What if you could start fresh? Okay, so Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. It's often the initiator because of that. It is about fresh starts. It's also about ambition. This is about ambition, pile 2. All of this is about ambition, but the question is what's driving the ambition, and where are you putting your energy, and is your soul in it? And I think that many of you feel you're on a treadmill in one form or other in your life, where you're putting energy into something, maybe because you've set some roots down and you think, I just have to do it. But it's like, this is like, what if you could start fresh in some way? Even if it was a slight iteration on this without completely upsetting the apple cart on what you have foundations with. What would that look like? What would your soul say? What is your soul? Your soul's calling for something new, I think. So let's see a little bit more about it. So we have Capricorn, are you? So see, this is interesting. So I think they're very strongly connected, but they're mirroring each other, because this question, which is about work and roots and everything that's kind of Capricornian. What do you do, achieve? What are your ambitions? What do you use? What is material to you, is a soul question. And the soul question about starting fresh is a material question. So this is definitely, if you've come to the right reading, this is about something that is very material to you. Now, the interesting thing is, I think some of you may have come because it's about relationship. But if that's the case, there's a very material issue related to this. And I think it's, if someone is if you think someone is hunting you, so to speak, not in hopefully a bad or stalkeresque way, but if someone is pursuing you, then there's something to do with the impact of your material life on this, and whether you want to be caught. And if you're hunting, it's almost as though there's something about looking for somebody who maybe you can start afresh with and get this more in line with your soul. So if it is about relationship, I think it's that dynamic. But I think for most of you, this is about ambition in one form or another. So let's see what else we get. Unknown, answer unclear, okay. Find a teacher, all right. So I think you feel, in whatever the situation is, that you don't know whether you can start afresh. You might want to. You're feeling frustrated, I'd say, and your soul is calling for something, but you don't know. You feel like you don't have enough information, and your soul, your unconscious, likes information, likes to know that it's making a considered decision that has a material benefit to it. This is why you kind of get caught on this treadmill a bit. What do you put in work into? Where do you have your roots? All that kind of thing. And it's saying find a teacher. So I think what this comes down to, pile 2, is that you are someone who, even if you want to, and I relate to this, so it's not meant as a criticism, even if you wanted to just step back and have faith in your soul and the universe to send you what you want, you need evidence. You need evidence. I wouldn't mind betting many of you have the moon in Capricorn, or at least the moon in a earth sign. I have the moon in Virgo, for instance, so I know this. I know this energy. So even though I do this sort of work, and I've seen it work over and over and over, so I've seen that enough to know that it works, I like to see the material. How does this fit in this world? How does this choice fit in this world? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's career, whatever it might be. And so I think this is saying the answer is not going to be for you necessarily in just trusting your soul. You've got to find someone who gives you enough information for you to feel at a soul level that there is a foundation to start afresh. So I think the question are connected. There's a real yearning for something new. And I think for you to be the hunter, to be hunting something new, but you're not sure about the ramifications of that and the consequences of that. So you need to find there. I think this is saying there is someone who can help you with that, a mentor, a coach, a teacher, something like that. So let's get a little bit more information. So we're going to use tarot. So we're going to use one deck to look at a little bit more about what you do know about this and a little bit about what you know about the unconscious thing. And then we'll look at what's really unconscious in both as well. So firstly, let's have a look at what is conscious to a greater or a lesser extent. So a greater extent here and a lesser extent here, but nevertheless conscious in these questions for you. Queen of Cups. Queen of Pentacles, Six of Swords reversed. Okay, it's interesting. I think those cards might have come up together in another reading. It looks familiar anyway, I'm not sure, I can't remember. Then in terms of what is conscious, what is kind of at the conscious level, even in the unconscious question about starting afresh. Three of Swords, Page of Cups reversed, Nine of Swords reversed. Okay, all right. So, I really do relate to this energy, I've got to say. I often don't in readings, but and I'm not saying this is a reading for me, but I'm just saying I understand this energy, I think. So, what you do know what you want emotionally. You do know what your soul wants with the Queen of Cups. It's not that you are hiding any of that. That's not the issue at all. You also know what security means to you. And you know that somewhere, maybe in bargaining for both these things, you feel like you've gone off course. So this is part of the thing. Are you really heading towards achieving your sort of security and commitment and your emotional happiness, or have you gone off course? And so now you're the hunted rather than the hunter. So you're kind of aware this is hitting a point where you've got to make a decision. And you've been putting a lot of effort into something, but you're not sure if it's the right course. So you're aware of that. What you're aware about with this energy towards maybe, do I start afresh? Do I just kind of let all this go? Or do I iterate it so much that it looks completely different? You are aware there is some pain associated with doing that, because there are roots you have here and you put a lot of effort in. So you're aware that there is pain associated with it, and you're aware that you're not fully sure what the fallout of that's going to be yet. You're also aware, however, that there is a drive towards doing this, because there's something in what you're doing that is not giving you the emotional payoff, and you're tired of worrying about it. Like you have been worrying about it. You've been looking at something and going, is this really worth the effort? Is it right for me? And you've worried yourself over and over and over about it. But you there's still a kind of a painful thing of making that decision, because you're still not 100% sure what this looks like. But the thing that I really do think, though, is that it feels like here you've had this sense of emotional and material security by almost getting into routines. But the routines are no longer going where you want. So you kind of know that, but you've had that. You know you have to break the routines here, and that almost throws particularly the emotional thing up into the air. What does it mean to start afresh? And you don't feel you have enough answers to know. But again, a teacher might help you reconnect those, because I think that's what you need to do. You need to turn the Page of Cups around by re-understanding what new would mean to you. And I think this is saying that in actual fact, what you think is a very big shift is not a big shift. Because if you turn the Page of Cups around by articulating what starting afresh does, the Page is not far from the Queen. So I think there might almost be an exaggeration that you need to bring to the surface here about how much change would be necessary. It may not be as much as you think it is. It's just that when we don't know the answers to things, we often make them bigger than they actually are. That's why sword cards are always so tricky, because we can imagine all sorts of things, whereas the other elements we just tend to experience. So that's, I think that this is a bit of a hint that while you think starting afresh might mean throwing everything out, it probably doesn't. It's more an iteration, but you need a bit more information to see that. So let's look at what also is unconsciously under this question and what is really deeply unconscious here. So the Hierophant, the Knight of Wands, Strength. Wow, okay. And then what is really deeply unconscious in this, I don't know what starting afresh means, feeling that we have over here. The Lovers reverse. So some of you, this could be about a relationship. Six of Swords. That's interesting. Three of Pentacles. Okay. So what's sort of unconscious in this? I feel like I'm on a treadmill. I'm on something I'm putting a lot of work into and that I've laid a foundation with, but I don't feel it's in my soul. That's generally what this feels like. There is a lot of sense of responsibility. You carry a lot of responsibility. And in fact, you find it a little bit hard with the Queen of Cups there to feel emotionally resonant and emotionally authentic unless you take on a level of responsibility. This is the kind of, even if this is about a relationship, it's almost like you've got an innate workaholism, even about the relationship. Like if a relationship is difficult, I just have to keep working at it. I keep working at it and that'll sort it out. And I think this is a question now about, well, you know, you might even be your own hunter in that, if that makes sense, if you're doing that. Knight of Wands is saying you want to take an action. You can't just keep doing everything. You want to do something. Do you want to break it? You want to take an action, and you are strong enough to do this. But you're kind of putting your strength at the moment into obligation, whereas the Knight of Wands is saying put the strength into almost this Aries energy, this energy of sort of like, you know, moving, travel, difference, and so forth. What's really unconscious here, it's got to do with how you relate to others. It could be a love relationship. If this is a love relationship, then as I say, I think you're putting a lot of work into something and you're not really sure if it's right, but you don't really know what it would mean. This pain of the separation, you know, is that going to be too much? What is someone else going to come in, etc. But it's only by facing that you're going to get back on track. This is the thing. There is something that needs to shift. It may not be as big a shift as you fear, but there is something that needs to shift because underneath this general sense, I think what it's saying is that it's almost like at the moment, because this is unconscious and because you're kind of like not making the decision here, it's almost like the unconscious would push you towards throwing everything up in the air when maybe you don't need to. Maybe it's more like an iteration. So it's unconsciously, your conscious is trying to get you to get a foundation about what this would mean and get the clarity for that. And that's where I think a teacher could help you. That's where I think, yeah, getting more information, not feeling, because with the moon here, you're probably very psychic and you probably think you should know. But I think with this, there's sort of like, there's not enough information available to you. You've got to actually go and find the people who can give you information or perspectives. So let's get 4 cards from the conscious element of this, just for advice from Spirit about how to balance this off. Seven of Wands reversed, 3 of Wands reversed, High Priestess, Hanged Man. Yeah, I do think that you're psychic with the moon there. And it's very, see, having the moon in earth signs is often very psychic because it brings the material elements, the reality, the information into the emotional or spiritual sphere. So I think this is showing this. And sometimes some people say the High Priestess is the moon in Pisces, but others say it's the moon in Virgo. So as I say, I feel for many of you there's a moon energy in an earth sign. And that kind of thing of like really listening to your soul here is important. But I think you are also someone who needs evidence and information. That's why finding the teacher. It's almost like the real answer is within you, pile 2. It really is, but you're not going to trust it until somebody else gives you a frame of reference that makes sense. And it's like it's having that perspective shift that comes from getting the further information. But it is going to take courage. And it is going to have to take the capacity to be ready to move away from certain things, people, situations, if it's not right for you. I don't think this is saying, as I say, I think if this was a relationship, I don't think it's necessarily saying you're going to break up, but it is saying that you need to recalibrate it and work out whether it could start afresh, because at the moment it's on a treadmill. And it's a similar thing if it's around work or whatever. I don't think it's saying that for everybody who comes to pile 2, you have to start fully afresh, particularly with that Page of Cups and Queen of Cups. But I do think that you have to go and get some other information, get some different perspectives about it so that you can align that with what your soul's telling, and then you're going to have a better chance of answering both the questions. So let's get you some spirit team advice as well, because I think you are very connected into your spirit team. So a couple of divine animals for you. Honeybee, reciprocity. See, this may be part of the key, actually. That makes a lot of sense that card came up. If you're on a bit of a treadmill, I'm just going to talk about it though it's work, but apply this to whatever the situation is. If you are a workaholic, what can often happen is that you end up doing more than your fair share. You know, if you're studying and you're in a study group, you might be the person who has the real sort of work principle and work ethic, and you end up doing more. And it is paying off to you to some extent, but you're always feeling like you're just having to just keep up or whatever. If there isn't balance here, that might be one of the things to actually think about. It's interesting that the hangman here is balancing on a chair. So it's really about balance. If the balance isn't right, then that may be the information you need. And maybe sort of another perspective, a teacher, someone like that can get you to have a look at that. Look at like where is the balance here and can it be rebalanced? And sea turtle, stability. And can it be stable? Yeah, the moon here, the Capricorn here. I think there's something unsustainable and unstable in what you're in at the moment because you're putting too much energy into it. So quite frankly, at the moment, I think the answer is that you're the hunted rather than the hunter. Not because anyone's deliberately trying to hunt you, but I feel like you've just got that energy, that perpetual motion energy operating around whatever this is. But it is possible to get that in balance and therefore to make it stable. So I think it's a matter of degree rather than completely changing things. That's, I think, for most of you. So let's get you an angel energy to help as well. Archangel Uriel, illumination, inner power, ideas into form. Yeah, you are very psychic. Like, it's really strange. It feels like, you know, sometimes the people who are the most psychic are the ones who doubt their psychic ability the most. You're kind of in that capacity and you just keep putting the work in. But Uriel here is meant to bring you illumination, allow you to sort of start to see. I think Uriel will bring the teacher in, actually, whatever that means. And it could just be a good friend, and they're not a formal teacher. They might just sort of sit down and talk through the options with you. It's going to be different for everybody who comes here. And then a goddess or divine feminine energy for you. Aphrodite, beauty, romance, self-love. So certainly if this is about love, there is a solution. It's either a new love coming in because you finally go, this other one was too hard work, or I think for most of you it's more likely to be rebalancing and getting more reciprocal and more stable. That it's also you coming back to valuing yourself and having self-love and so forth, rather than feeling you always have to be on this treadmill. There is something here though. If you do feel that you are being pursued by someone and you're not sure, it's all too much hard work and you don't want, it's not the right one for you, but you sort of feel like you're almost being pressured around it, then you know, that could be sort of something for some of you around this. And Aphrodite's here to make you feel strong enough in that and to understand that you may attract a number of people that expect a lot from you, particularly romantically or in terms of attention. So you might need to disconnect from some of those. I'm just getting that's very specific, but it could be the case for some of you. Okay, so let's also get some star energy and or numerology as sort of also advice around these two questions. Last quarter. So the last quarter moon is about breaking down the old and preparing for the new. So there's definitely something here. Like the one thing that I think is an absolute yes from the spirit here is that you do need to change something. You can't keep doing exactly what you're doing. We also have new moon, yeah, and that will require you to go within the moon, do the work, think it out, and I think find the teacher. But this is about reflection because there's an emotional impact to this. Also, this would suggest the cycles of the moon are very strong for you, so pay attention to that and try and align your decisions, I think, around the appropriate phases of the moon. And Saturn return. Okay, so for some of you, you may be in your Saturn return. It comes at various stages of life, depending upon how long you live. The first Saturn return can turn up anywhere from around about 28 to 30, 31. And it's usually where you really start to decide who you are in the world. It's actually, this energy would be very true of a Saturn return energy on that first Saturn return, because it could be someone who'd spent most of their 20s working really hard building this up. And now it's kind of like, is that now going to pay off in something you want to do long term? Or are you needing to almost kind of, move laterally or jump into something else. Like it's a very, very good sort of like distinction of exactly the sort of things that we question in Saturn return. If it's around a relationship, is all the work and the energy you put into it the right one to commit to long term, or do you need to start afresh? So for some of you, that could literally be the case. If not, that energy is around. Saturn return also comes up sort of in latter parts of your life, so between about 58 and 60 or so. That's usually when people retire or go into semi-retirement, so it's sort of like they're freeing up of some of those responsibilities. And for those who live long enough, it would also come up around the late 80s into early 90s, and that's probably, I think, around really understanding your kind of karmic energy and preparing for your next life and all that kind of thing. But I think for most, this feels mostly like where you position your energy going forward. What are you going to commit to going forward? Okay, so to finish off, I just want to pull a couple of cards to look at what you can manifest in answering each of these questions. So what you can manifest in answering the question about whether you're the hunter or the hunted. Purity. Okay, so that's interesting. So if this is around relationships, there is a thing here for some, I do think, I just want to go back to Aphrodite. I think for some of you, if this is around you, it could be for some of you that you put a lot of work into being attractive, drawing people in or whatever. Like you like that energy, going out and everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that you're reaching a point now where you need more than just that, if that's the case. And this is the purity. This purifies by making it not about being hunter or hunted, but making it about what's in your soul. Then you can make the right decisions to make it self-love, as opposed to drawing in the love of others to kind of prove something to yourself. It's like, if that makes sense, I think it's been inculcated in you in some way that this is, the role that you're supposed to have or something. And again, it's a kind of a treadmill of kind of dating and proving something to yourself, as opposed to having a very pure idea. Now, if it is around work or any of those sort of things as well too, it's the purity of what it is you want to do going forward, as opposed to just doing the doing. So I think there is a kind of a clearing out energy. Then what you can achieve by answering the question about whether you should start afresh. Ambition. Yeah, you get the right ambition going. I do think for most of you, there is something for some of you that it is about relationship, and I think it's about being, as I say, almost in the dating world and all of that kind of thing, and how that all balances out with your self-esteem and who you would really want in your life. But I think for most this is probably around career, and I think this is about you clarifying what your ambition is rather than just doing the doing. So I think it's meant to be a liberating sort of question for you. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So this here with Perseus, which is the question that brought you to this reading, is the conscious energy, the conscious question. And as I said, and this is over here, is the unconscious, which we'll look at once we've explored this a little bit. What I really felt when I saw Perseus come up as the conscious question, because as I say, I shuffled and asked Spirit to give me the 3 conscious questions, was that there was definitely going to be a group which was very deep spiritually, or almost, as I said, forensically, or very spiritually courageous or psychologically courageous people who maybe are into Jungian psychology and depth psychology, all those sort of things. Because Perseus, as I said in the introduction, the question is, given the chance to gaze into the void, wouldn't you? So that you are people who have that kind of courage, to do that. You're probably the sort of person, like maybe a kind of scorpionic energy. You don't have to be Scorpio, but that sort of sense of, when the Nietzschean quote, I think, which is, if you look into the abyss, it looks into you. That wouldn't phase you. That would almost intrigue you or excite you as a concept. Or you could be very, as I say, forensic, going to the details, going to the depths. You really want to understand yourself. I think it's very interesting that a mirror is used as the way of looking at Perseus here. So there is, I think, very much a message that you consciously look at yourself to understand yourself and your depths. You're just a very courageous person. But it feels like a very unconscious question, and yet it's at the conscious level, which makes you a very, very interesting group. I'm going to be fascinated to see. I don't know what these cards were, just like I didn't know what these were when the cards were laid out for the choice. That's the unconscious question, and the energies around that. So if this is your conscious question, and then when you look at what came, we've got the eye, look to see what is really there. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're looking to see what is really there in a situation, even if it could be off-putting, frightening, disturbing, you do it. And it's all in service towards transformation, change in appearance or character, usually for the better. And I think it will be for the better, but it's almost you're the group that it doesn't matter. You just want to know the truth. You do understand that there's something about doing this that is going to bring in good fortune. And so, well, actually, I'm starting getting a very specific thing, and this is only going to be probably for a small number of people. But there may be for some of you, there is literally a question at the moment, like it could be like buying some stocks in something or some sort of investment opportunity or a new job or something where it looks like an increase, but you're not entirely sure. And so you are going to look deeply in it to see how much it transforms and how much it's going to return on investment. So that's a very specific thing, but I just got it strongly. So for some of you, this is a very practical thing, but you are very savvy investors, very savvy business people or whatever it is, if that's the case, because you don't just sort of think, you kind of would be the person who would say, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is, but you do keep a little bit of an open mind, so you're looking into it. So for some of you, there's something like that going on. But I think for most of you, you can see that a transformation within yourself and a clear understanding of yourself will increase your fortune. So you are saying, of course, I want to understand more about this situation myself, how the two interact, what I need to change or do, and I'm not going to blink. Like, you are just a group that don't blink. Like, on that kind of like political world at the moment, you're the type that will look at what's going on rather than going, oh, it's all too hard. So, yeah, because a lot of people do find what's going on in the world at the moment, very, very challenging to look at. But you are the type who will and will try and understand this and try and make the best out of it. And so you're kind of a trailblazer in many ways. And I think the sort of people that are necessary, because I think it's going to be necessary as we go through massive change in the next 10 years or so, I think. I mean, I think anybody who's really looking would see that we're going to do that. To be able to help people with that, because you are able to look without blinking. So very interesting energy. But there's something for you right now where you're looking to understand something very deep about yourself and what you're changing and to have an outcome. And so it's very much, you're prepared to look into it. You're not. I think you've almost answered this question, to be honest, but we'll get more detail about what's playing out so that you can know, what you're even more conscious of or not conscious of that would be helpful in doing that analysis for you. So as I say, it'd be fascinating to see what's your question unconsciously. So we have links. The question says, and I'll read it before putting it down because it's going to be hard to read. What if you consciously decided to feel into all the magic in the world around you? Wow. So for some of you, it's very spiritual. It's about coming into your own magical power, your own spiritual power, and understanding that in the world. Like I'm almost getting like goosebumps. It's like this sort of feeling of sort of someone who, because they're prepared to do this and don't blink, you can move into an enormous amount of power and you can understand something about the world. There's something about this. You think you're just looking at you, but you're not. This is what this is saying. You're looking at something that is on a much bigger stage. So that's really interesting. So let's see the astrological energy around it. 11th house, friends. It's going to be something that is around your social circle. I think you're going to be a leader. I think you're going to help your friends, your social circle, all that sort of thing through major change, because you are brave. You're brave in a way that they aren't. And because you're going to be open to the magic rather than seeing the change. Like there's something, I mean, I do think when I look at the political world, we have some very challenging times coming, to be frank. But I also think that in challenge is opportunity. And I think you see this. And I think, it could also be on social media and things like that whatever you do, whatever you see, you take out into the world in some way. Let's see what else we have. The moon, subconscious, emotions, instincts. Very much psychic again, picking with your psychic energy. And you have an emotional response to this. Like it's almost, I think what this is saying is that your frontal personality is like, I just want to know. You know, I want the truth, even if it's harsh. I want to be able to make the choices to make things work. You know, I'm brave, and you are brave. But you are very emotional about this. This doesn't just come from, this isn't just about making money for yourself or just having all the toys. This is something very deep, and it's connected to other people emotionally. And journey, a physical or spiritual journey. Yeah, you know that you're about to sort of embark on something. This is not a short-term thing. Whatever this is, whatever fortune you think you can bring in and transformation you think you can bring in, and by God, Pile 3, I think if any group could, you could. It's a longer journey, and it's very, very much of your heart and your soul, and it's very much connected to your sort of friends, your social networks and so forth. But this is taking you out into the world in some way. So I think what's unconscious in you is how much a personal journey and a personal understanding is eventually going to be played out on a larger stage. So it's very interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit more information mirroring, no pun intended with that, mirror in the Perseus, mirroring the unconscious and the conscious. So I'm going to firstly use one tarot deck to put out some cards here for a little bit more about what you know consciously, and a little bit here about what you know consciously already about the unconscious thing, for a connection, if there is one between the two. And I think there is. It's a connection of step 1, step 2. And then we're going to have a look at what is unconscious in the conscious decision and what is deeply conscious, like what's at the real core of the unconscious side of it. So let's firstly look with one tarot deck at the conscious elements in each side of the equation. So for what is already conscious, what is some more information about that you kind of have on a conscious level? Knight of Wands. This is the journey. You already know there's a journey. 7 of Swords. Page of Cups reversed, okay. And what you consciously know, as I say, you already know there's a journey involved in this. This is not a short-term thing. What do you consciously know about it's almost like the canvas that you're going to operate on? 5 of Swords. Queen of Wands reversed. 4 of Swords reversed. Oh, okay. Wow, okay. So there's definitely a very strong social, political, or spiritual construct operating with all of this. You know consciously that movement has to happen, change has to happen, and that you have to take action. And you know that you are clever enough, this is this forensic thing, to see things for what they are. And you know that there is something, like on an emotional level, is not right. Whatever this is around, you know that there is an opportunity to transform and increase and make this work, but you know at the moment that it's not emotionally calibrated. It almost feels like you are at the moment looking at the battle, but not at the heart of it, but you kind of know you need to do that as well. And this is the unconscious. This is the unconscious telling you there's much more to this than you even think at the moment. Unconsciously, you have a sense that there's a battle coming. You know that. And you know that it's a battle about egos, and you know that there is a side of you that would prefer to just be in the analysis and not in the journey and out there, but you know that you're probably not going to be able to do that and be true to yourself. This is a calling. You have a calling, Pile 3. And it's not an easy calling in as much as there is a lot of kind of tension around this, but you're absolutely smart enough for it. There's not a problem with that. So let's see the unconscious side of it. Let's have a look at what you are unconscious of, even in the conscious choices at the moment, about what you're looking into, what you're examining, what you think you can gain out of something. What's unconscious there? And then what's the deepest unconscious in all of this? So unconscious in a conscious thing, King of Cups reversed. 5 of Cups. The Magician reversed. Wow. You're an interesting group, Pile 3. Okay, let's have a look at what's the deepest unconscious. 3 of Swords. 4 of Cups. The Root reversed. Okay. All right. So you know that you're looking into something that other people might find unpleasant or difficult to look into. I think that you don't realize how deeply unhappy, and it's not going to make you unhappy, but how deep this rabbit hole goes. When you know that, that's when you know you've got a bigger cause. So I think this is what this is saying. At the moment, you feel like you're going to look into this and almost be able to make the changes and the negotiations to work out and rectify things and feel happy with where you're going forward. But what you're going to find when you really look into whatever this is, relationship, career, political system, social cause, you are far more disaffected from this once you really look into it. You see something has to shift and you know that there are bad actors involved. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean if this is a relationship, the person that you're in is a bad actor, but there are bad actors. There's something in this where once you go down the rabbit hole, as I say, it goes a lot deeper than you think. And it takes you out to here where you see the battle. And what is deeply unconscious here is this will change everything about you. This transformation is going to be massive. This is going to uproot a lot of things that you used to believe about yourself and about the people around you. You're going to, because you want to liberate an emotional energy, and it will require separations from certain people, certain situations, and so forth. Like it feels like someone realizing, you know what it feels like? Actually, I'm going to tell you this, what it feels like is like the Buddha. It feels, or something like that, or Francis of Assisi. It feels like somebody who actually has that sort of niggling sense, looks into things in their current paradigm, their current matrix, whatever it is, thinks that it's going to have a bit of an adjustment and then move forward, then realizes this is much more fundamental. So like Francis of Assisi, born into privilege, and then decides, you know what, I can't do that and follow my God and follow my spirit. I have to go out and be amongst the poor and amongst the animals and so forth. It uproots everything. And yeah, similarly, as I say, with the Buddha, who again, born into incredible privilege, but in the end realized for his soul and for his enlightenment that world was not going to work. Now, I'm not saying that every single one of you have got to suddenly walk out on your life, but I do think what this is saying is that there is something you have the call to transform and to become really true to yourself. You think you're kind of ready and you're kind of rectified. You're going to find this is a much bigger journey. I think it's a good journey, but I think it's a journey that has a cause. So, wow, okay. So it's a good thing you're brave, but you are brave. I don't think it's necessarily going to be awful, but I think that you know, there aren't many people who can do this, but this group you can. So let's get just from the original deck with the conscious, just 4 pieces of advice from Spirit about how to embark in this. 8 of Wands, Knight of Swords reversed, 7 of Pentacles, Ace of Cups. Okay. So this is saying you do need to take action, and you know you need to take action. And there's a freedom that you need to get. There's something at the moment that's holding you back. But it is saying you don't have to, this is saying you don't have to kind of like slash and burn everything. With Knight of Swords reversed, you can negotiate around this, you can, you know, and there are probably compromises that can be had. It doesn't have to be everything. It also says that you're not going to throw away everything that you have. This transformation is to allow something that you can grow and build that is closer to your heart. But action is going to be required. So the good news, as I say, is although I think it's profound and it uproots everything, it's so that you can actually start to grow what is true and connect to your heart and connect to your soul and connect to your spirit. Because you've got a bit disconnected from it, pile 3. You're very, very spiritual. It's not that you aren't, but you've almost made it an analytical exercise because of this bravery you have. But when you really do it, you're going to sort of see how disconnected you've got. But this is the way to realign this. And it doesn't have to be slash and burn, but it does have to be liberation. Okay, so let's have a look what you can get in terms of a spirit team to help you. So firstly, a couple of power animals to add to your already significant courage, I think, pile 3. So firstly, we have rhinoceros, moderation. Yeah, moderation. This is a profound shift. At the end of this, once all of this has been realised as well, you won't be the same person you are now. But in a sense, you also, that's probably not the right way of putting it. You will be, but you'll be manifesting it in a different way. But it is profound and it's major, but it's like it doesn't have to be throwing everything out. There's a negotiation side of this. So I think the rhinoceros will help you with that. Because I think at first when you see this, when you really come to see the disconnect between what you believed in, whatever system you're in or whatever it is, and what is actually happening in the bad actors. You might want to go out and slash and burn instantly, but this is going to make it much more moderate, much more careful, because you're going to do it more through social constructs, through communication, and through using magic rather than just force. And bison, ritual. Yeah, magic. You guys are magicians. You really, really are. So instead of kind of like going slashing and burning and doing all the things that the knights want to do, it's like ritual. It's like shifting things at a really magical level. You are magicians. Pile 3. Okay, so let's get you an archangel then. Let's get some archangel magic energy for you. Archangel Haniel, friendship, moon cycle, psychic ability. Yeah, it is around your friendships. It is around your social connections, all of this sort of thing. I think you are going to do magic for people with that. You are. And you're very psychic connected, and your friendship are also your grounding, I think, and part of your moderation. It's sort of like you're not going to be a magician who becomes the reverse magician, but I think you're around kind of reverse magician types, whether they're literally into magic and psychic stuff, or whether it's just, as I say, they're not to be trusted. But you are much more connected to other people, so that your magic is actually much more pure. Let's see what we also have in terms of a divine feminine energy for you. Kali. Oh, wow. So shadow, ego, illusion, like she's going to help you. She's going to help you because there's something, you're seeing something that's not right. And Kali is wonderful because she actually destroys that which is not right, and so that you can actually rebuild with what is good. But she's fierce. You're fierce. You're strong. You're never going to betray your friends. You're never going to do it over the top. This is because you're very forensic and you're very honest with yourself. But this is a big thing, and Kali is here to help you with very big change. Wow. Okay, so let's get you some astrology on numerology to also help you. Trine. Well, that's good news. A lot of this is going to be easier than you think, and we will have a look at the planets for it, but it's like it's a big thing you're doing, but there will be some ease, and I think Kali and Haniel in particular will bring you that. And I think in the end you bring harmony, because you find where the more subversive elements were stopping it. New moon. You do need sometimes to go within and reflect and be on your own. There's a lot of energy around this. So make sure that you take that time when you need it. And Capricorn, yeah, it's about the powers of the world in one way or the other. It could literally play out around workplaces, businesses, politics, all of that kind of thing. A lot of you could be very much into sort of political causes and so forth. Otherwise, this is sort of something that's meant to manifest. It's not just a theoretic spiritual sort of thing. It's, meditation and ritual and all of those things will help you and connect you, no doubt, to your spirit team, but it's not just something that you can sit in your house cross-legged and contemplate. That you are going to have a journey that you're going on. Let's see what the planets are that kind of help you, that give it an ease of energy. So I'm just going to deal out till I get the planets, and just bear with me if it takes a while. There's a lot of cards in this deck. Saturn, okay, structure, form. Mercury. You will be able to communicate with the powers of the world with all of this. This is the good thing. This is because you're so brave and you're so smart. Like, you're formidable. And because of that, you will be able to bring your ideas into form, and you will be able to communicate with those that are powerful in a way to establish and achieve what you're trying to achieve. So that's very positive. So just to finish up, I just want to get a card for what you manifest if you answer this question, which is if you take the courage to really look at yourself in this situation, and then this question about what you will manifest if you bring the magic in. So firstly, the conscious question, will you look into this, pile 3? Will you take this on? And if so, energy, you'll be energized. Yeah, and I think it's energy in a couple of ways. I think you'll get the energy of sort of understanding the transformation and what could be done, but I think you're also energized by not being happy with some of the things you see. Not really in yourself, I don't think, but in the environment that you're in. What can you achieve if you really access the magic in the world around you? Love. Wow. Well, that's nice. So it could be like it brings in love for you in terms of romantic love. It could also be love from others, love from your friends, because there's a lot about friendship around this. Love from the people who are closest to you, because you're a person with a cause. You're like the knight seeking the Holy Grail, and healing the land. There's definitely that kind of energy around you. So that's lovely. You get love out of this. You're energized for the fight. You go through the fight. You bring magic in, and then love comes. So I think you deserve it though. I think, as they say, fortune favours the brave, and so it should. So well done. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope it resonated for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.